It's Dr. Rodney here. Following up on another video where we talked about the federal government shutdown and we talked about the fight being around subsidies. So why are subsidies so important, or why are they such a big fight? And from an economic perspective, subsidies can be a good thing or they could be a bad thing. And really what you look at it, where we generally see it, is going to be in food. And so I'll talk about kind of both of those things in there. But subsidies from an economic perspective are generally where the government subsidizes or creates a floor or a ceiling on a certain product or industry. And generally what it's meant to do is to allow more people access, allow more people to purchase and have that, or to maybe help people that are struggling, either buying something or selling something because of a disaster. So that's why we generally see it in food. So I'll talk about food here for a second. Where we see most subsidies is farm subsidies, and they come out in the farm bill every single year. And what they generally do is they are going to generally create a floor or a price floor on a certain product. So maybe it's corn, maybe it's soybean, maybe it's wheat, whatever it might be. Because what they're going to say is the government is going to pay $3 a pound or $3 a bushel or whatever it might be. And so now farmers know that they're going to get at least $3. Subsidies generally came in around World War I. They were really seen a lot during World War II when most people were out fighting. And so farmers needed to know exactly what they were going to make and so on and so forth. And they just never really left. And then they just kept getting in there and getting in there and getting in there. And so they almost become an entitlement. And now farmers expect that every single year versus allowing the overall market. Now, that doesn't mean that farmers are not trying to get a better price. It doesn't mean that there aren't better prices out there. There are. But at least you know what you're doing. So that also limits what you're going to plant. Meaning that you're not going to take a flyer on radishes if there's no guarantee what that price is going to be, when you know your input cost is $2.50 a pound, but right now the market price might only be $1. So you may not plant a lot of radishes, or you may not plant radishes at all. I'm just using radishes as an example. But if you know that you can get $3 a pound for corn, or $3, actually it's $3 a bushel, but if you can get X amount per bushel for corn, you're going to plant corn because you know my input cost is only $2, so I know I can make about $1 a bushel. I know that's guaranteed. Now corn might be at $4 at one point, so you might actually make more, but you know you're going to get certain amounts. But what that does is that creates excess supply. And there's only X amount of demand. That demand is probably in there all the time for corn, but the government sets that food price. Now they have extra corn. Now they can either sell that to Europe, or they can sell it to Russia, or they can sell it to foreign countries, or whatever. But they're basically buying that corn at that price, and then they are selling it. Now that's why you've got corn with ethanol. You've got different things that people have developed uses for corn because we have this huge excess. Same thing like when you look at the food pyramid. We have this huge excess of wheat because we had subsidies on wheat for a very long time. So when you look at the food pyramid created in the 50s, that people still use today, what does it have? It has bread, it has other different carbohydrates, all in that thing. They're making a big amount because they had such a surplus, they wanted you to eat more. Now we know that's not necessarily healthy, but that's the problem with subsidies. Once they enter the system, it's really hard to remove them, and they do end up creating a lot of surplus. So on this fight with the healthcare, with the Democrats, with the government shutdown, over the healthcare subsidies. First of all, those subsidies were not ever meant to be permanent. They were part of a rescue bill, actually 2 rescue bills, for during COVID when people were out of jobs and couldn't afford their premiums, and so they gave extra subsidies to do that. Problem is now they do have jobs, they are working, they can probably afford those premiums, but now they're used to getting that discounted price, and so really not pay for the healthcare, so they're signing up. So what the fear is that now we won't sign up for healthcare because we weren't used to paying that bill. We were paying a different bill. And now all of a sudden that healthcare is up there, so we're in open enrollment period right now. And so we're already seeing a decrease in signing up, which does affect supply of health insurance. And what I mean by that is when you have a lot of healthy people sign up for health insurance, It actually helps keep the overall prices low because generally the people that sign up generally need the health insurance, right? And so when you have that, and now that can help lower costs and can help do some different things, but now you're actually putting a little bit more risk into the system. So there's a balance there. But also you have people that may not need it right now. Now they're seeing that a bill might be $300 a month when they were paying $50 or zero or $100. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And so now they'll take that risk. Now they no longer have health care. What happens there? You now create an increased supply of uninsured. And then now that puts it back on local counties, local states, local cities. And also you may have people postpone going getting care, going getting different things. And so now you have created a major issue on health, and also down the road you might also help increase bankruptcies. So where is that equilibrium? And so those are some of the things that you want to take a look at. Obviously, we needed to help them out to be able to buy their health care. So that's why they had the rescue plans. That's why they had the subsidies there. But again, once you put a subsidy into a system, people get used to it. And so now it almost becomes an entitlement. Even though it's not, it's almost an entitlement because now they're used to it. And so when you do that, how do you actually remove that subsidy? Well, you can pull the Band-Aid off, which is exactly what is happening because subsidies are gone. Or you can keep them going, which is what the other side wants to do. And there's got to be a middle there. And so I really do think that there should be, since we had it in there, there should have been a phase out. And the phase out should have probably started after the first year. It should have only been 80%, then 60%. But they kept at that same levels. And so people are used to that. So now what we got to do is how do we do that? And how do we get them used to keep buying the insurance, but also lowering that subsidy cost, and then eventually eliminating it. And so that's going to be a very interesting fight. I don't think it's going to get solved. In fact, I think we're going to be right back where we are at the end of January, and we'll be right back to a government shutdown again. This is Dr. Rodney explaining subsidies. If you like what I have to say, hit like and hit subscribe. Look forward to talking with you.